Wrestling Federation. For over 50 years, the revolutionary force in sports entertainment.
What's our name?
Well, men on the
Are you ready?
Well,
Here we go. Bam, bang, boom. Here we go.
Welcome to the New Gen on a Mission podcast on Backbone. I'm Tim Slomka.
I'm JP.
Thanks for joining us again. As always, we're on the journey to relive the New Generation era, to find the best and some of the worst of a wrestling time period often forgotten. Bret and Shawn Survivor Series 92 to Bret and Shawn Survivor Series 97. Look beyond the pay-per-views, examine a weekly TV, see what worked, what could have worked, and what failed. JP, we're at a new home. We kind of messed it up already, but we're at a brand new home on the Backbone Wrestling Network. But it's a good to be here, and thanks for the old north-south connection, but excited to be on the new home as well.
Fuck them. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, we're back like we never left. So
yeah, not even missing a week. Yeah, yes.
All right, if this is your first time hearing us, I'm sorry. But if you're still with us, I appreciate it. So.
Unless you're a big Doink fan.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly.
Big Doink fan, you're set for action. So, how's everything going?
I'm pretty good, man. I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain. Got a pretty good sized promotion I'm working with, which is throwing everything in disarray. But it is what it comes with the territory. You know, you're old and washed. You have to.
Yeah. I guess more money, more problems.
Yeah.
More money,
more
God.
You ain't lying.
As a certain rapper would tell me. So. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, let's move on. So we got a couple more weeks till Survivor Series. So we're gonna kind of split this up just a little bit. Do Superstars, Action Zones, and Raws the next couple weeks, and then we'll be at Survivor Series. So getting pumped for this. I started listening to Bruce Pritchard's Something to Wrestle With about Survivor Series 94, just to see if there's any good like nuggets before the events.
Yeah.
And he actually likes the Doink match. And I'm like, I don't know if I can listen to this thing anymore.
Right.
So I've only made it to the Doink match and basically shut it off when he said, no, that's a good match.
He's always the counter. Like anything like a bunch of internet people shit on, he always it's probably the match that he had a hand in booking or something.
Oh yeah.
You know.
But it's hard to defend that. But
it is.
I was hoping I would hope to have some good background about the event or things like that. And there was not too much, so I don't usually listen to that show, but I was trying to do some extra homework here, and he didn't really lead to it. And then that terrible take basically shut it off. So I'll stick to Backbone Network and North-South Connection from now on for my wrestling needs.
Exactly.
So let's move on to then Superstars. So this is taped back on October 18th. This is the November 5th. Superstars, we get the most random match. We say that every once in a while, but
my very first line in my notes is the same thing. Random as fuck. That was my first line.
Yeah, we've had a couple of these, but this one might be the most random. We get Billy Gunn. I guess the Mr. Ass push came a little earlier than we thought. Versus Tatanka. It makes no sense. You also get Billy Gunn coming out without Bart Gunn, which is really weird as well. So. It kind of starts off with the highlights of Luger and Backland from last Raw, which was pretty hot, right? We got Tatanka coming down. Backland got Luger in the chicken wing. So good highlights, kind of a good way to bring up Tatanka, like he's going to fight in this match. But why he's fighting Billy Gunn just makes no sense. Kind of they still talk about the Guns are a tag team. So like I don't think they're starting a double push or a single push, but we get this match. Okay match. Billy Gunn, the Guns we've talked about is one team that we've just never seen as being over. Like as much as everyone thinks of the new gen tag team, like they are just not over. Like they get a little pop when their guns go off in the intro, and then it's kind of like silence. And he comes out alone, which is again kind of random. Vince King of the highlights kind of gave him Vince Lee gives him a high five, so he's pumped for Billy Gunn. So you can kind of see the love there. And then kind of just a minor back and forth match for 6 minutes here. Tatanka with DiBiase. DiBiase distracts the ref for the finish, and Bam Bam comes out and shoves Billy Gunn off the top rope to get Tatanka the victory. Pretty weak. Tatanka can't beat Billy Gunn, especially when they're building Tatanka up as to beat Luger, like the former champion or wannabe champion.
Right.
So I don't know why he needs help. But then that sets up, the kind of the match they're setting up for Survivor Series is kind of Billy Gunn, the Guns versus Bam Bam and Tatanka. So you can see a few kind of starting from that. And they'll talk more about that for next week's show. But okay match, definitely random. And Vince was in overdrive as well in this match with what maneuvers. Like he really laid it on heavy this match. So
Yep.
what's your
I
thoughts?
think I think if they would have done a better job or an earlier job building Survivor Series, then this wouldn't be so random. But
Agreed,
with
yeah.
the way they've laid it out, it's just like, okay, why are they wrestling? Then they tell the story afterwards, kind of. Then in next episodes, it kind of builds. But right here, it's just like Billy Gunn is not a guy that you're just gonna throw into a cold match and get excited for at this point, But yeah, I really didn't like the chemistry between these two. Tatanka's not exactly lighting the world on fire as a heel either. Bigelow with the interference was kind of cool. Like seeing him get involved a little bit. I kind of like the Bigelow and Tatanka team a little bit. Mostly because of Bigelow and DiBiase's involvement, but this just didn't really do anything for me. Like I don't know, Smoking Guns versus a bigger like monster heel team just doesn't like wow me right now, I guess. So
Well, it's also weird too because Bam Bam was in the tag team with IRS, so it's like they're kind of
Right.
degrading him to a tag match, which I think they could use him differently, and they obviously will later next year. But it kind of feels like a step down for him too, like these two random tag feuds.
well, we're seeing like we're gonna see it in another show as well. Like we're seeing like the demotion of a lot of guys basically. Like Tatanka was once one of the probably top 3 baby faces in the company. He's a heel, just a weaker heel now, part of a stable. Same with Bigelow. Bigelow was a featured heel. Now he's just kind of bumped down. Smoking Guns really haven't progressed at all since they've been there. They've been going on 2 years now, and they just haven't done anything. So we're also going to see another guy's just lower. I mean, he gets a win, but he's lower. Luger's kind of lower on the rung now. It's just a lot of guys just seem to be going down as like the click guys come up and take over. So it's gonna be interesting to track. So after that match, we get a Duke Joshi squash, which he's not like the most offensive guy on the roster, but he's kind of fallen into Adam Bomb territory a little bit, where it's like nothing's really happening yet. I know in a month or two he gets at least some kind of a feud, but as of right now, there's not really anything that he's really done outside of Lawler. The only cool part about this squash was afterwards, Backland kind of like randomly came down and put the chicken wing on him, so he's showing like the really unhinged side. Kind of like how Sid was in like '99 WCW, where he would just come out and just powerbomb guys in the middle of the match. Backland's kind of like that right now, where he just randomly will show up and put the crossface on a guy. So that was kind of cool. I like seeing Backland more than I like seeing the squash. And then that was followed by a Diesel squash and your guy, a Doink squash after that. So nothing really much major out of those, unless you had anything to add with those two.
Yeah, the dumpster post match was awesome. Like,
Yep.
And even like he went for the jobber first out of nowhere, and then he went for Duke Joshi after Joshi was trying to help out. For the Doink squash, we get all the spraying of Jerry the King Lawler, so they're kind of building up that feud. He's got the silly string, and
Right.
comes out with Dink, Wink, and Pink just to spray him. And we also got Macho Man highlights at a parade. So interesting, kind of the timing of this. But Macho Man, I think his last appeirance is him at a parade. So it's kind of crazy that they kind of show those highlights considering what happens on Monday. So. Nothing squashes between Diesel. Weird that Diesel is going to be champion, in 3 weeks, spoilers, but like here he just feels like, just a tag team guy. Like I don't see this elevation. And as a kid, I don't remember
right.
Diesel's champion. Like it doesn't feel like that. Like, I don't know, maybe if he beat 2 jobbers or something, something to really, push Shawn away or something. Like nothing really sets him up for this title run that he's going to go to, which is kind of shocking.
Not just that he's winning the title. I mean, think about it. Was Bret the first Triple Crown winner? Like tag team Intercontinental World title? He might have been, right?
Probably, yeah.
So if not, he's very few. Diesel gets into that territory, not just pushed quickly into
in
a
1
world
year.
champion. Yeah,
I think they make a big deal. I think they make a big deal of it, like 1 year after he
in
wins.
1 year. Like think of that. Think of like of all the champions there's been and all the Triple Crown winners, whatever. Diesel of all guys was pushed I guess it's just a timing thing. Like coming off the steroids, they have this big natural looking guy. It's obviously what Vince wanted. I guess it just was timing. He skyrocketed that fast. But yeah, like it didn't feel like he ever did as a kid. It just felt like he was always a main guy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird that these kind of squashes happen. We get a long Survivor Series preview then too, where they talk about that it's a towel match. I can't remember if they've announced that before, but hey, it's a towel match. So you kind of get Owen and Bulldog saying they won't throw in the towel no matter what. So weird that like why would Owen throw in the tackling for Backland? It's weird. He's kind of associated with him.
It is,
like randomly, but it is what it is. It definitely plays a storyline. And then we get Chuck Norris. A lot of talk about Chuck Norris, about how he's going to handle the match and be in charge of making sure whatever happened in the Royal Rumble 94 is not going to happen again. So we get that, and we get our boy IRS. First, he's at the funeral parlor, at the cemetery. And he's kind of one we've seen before. Where he talks about how a dead dad tried to pay for his daughter's birthday party and call it a business expense, and it's just right in front of his gravestone, just talking trash about this guy. So pretty funny there. And then a quick squash from him. There they really bring up. It's weird that IRS is not part of a tag team at Survivor Series and isn't part of a team. So they kind of really bring up that weird that IRS isn't there. So obviously setting some stuff up with dead man taxes and not being involved in Survivor Series. So pretty good job there. And I think good character work from IRS. He's not going to be credible against Taker.
Yeah.
But it's good character work. The crowd hates him at this time, so that works out.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take the character work any day. Like that's building something at least. And I'm just glad that they're finally giving like the Survivor Series report. With so many guys involved in Survivor Series, you kind of have to like pick up the pace on that with so many moving parts and everything. So I always love those reports too. It's just like the Royal Rumble, like the countdown with all the guys. And so it was cool to get the visuals and start seeing teams get built and stuff for that. So
it just took a while here on this one, which is weird.
It did.
On the Action Zone then?
Yep.
All right, so this is taped on the next day with the Wrestling Talent Challenge taping. So this is where we start seeing some Action Zone fall off the cliff a little bit on some of the stuff. We'll see if it will hold up, but this is kind of randomly taped at a couple different spots. So I'm not going to name it each match, but most of it's taped October 19th from Knickerbocker Arena in Albany, the same Wrestling Challenge taping. So you get the first match, I think.
Yeah. So this episode of Action Zone opened with pretty much cold open with Mabel and Yoko, two probably the two biggest guys on the roster that I can think of, and I'm just glad to see like Oscar back with Mabel, like as part of the act. We've seen Mabel like out there by himself a few times, so that kind of added.
No mention of where he was or why he's back. Nothing. Just
the problem is he comes back and this jackass Charlie Ming comes out there, and he looked like he was like half into the dancing, like, and then he just like tried to take it serious for a second, but he's so terrible at it, so it just came off like very cringeworthy instead of being like comedic. If you're gonna be like the wacky guy doing stupid dancing, like you got to just buy into it. Instead, he kind of, I don't know, it was very weird, like very off-putting seeing him try to dance with them. But get past that, and it's back to the old Mabel entrance, which was pretty good. Like, it's lost a little bit of its luster, I guess, from when the crowd used to be really into it when they were in those like where the Manhattan Center crowds and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like how much they got into it. So it's a little down from that, but still solid. Then Yoko comes out, so we get like the traditional like running into each other kind of spots to begin, which is always fun when you have like big guys like this. And just looking like as this match progresses, like it feels like it's like a big step up for Mabel. Like he hasn't been involved in a match with a guy of this status yet, but then it also feels like a step down for Yoko. Like he was world champion, he was in the main event, he's feuding with Taker, then he's kind of like having this match with Mabel where I don't know, it doesn't seem on his level, but I guess they got time to rebuild Yoko. We'll see. Then so Yoko's kind of in control, like even bumps him out and stuff, and then Mabel finally takes over and like gets the crowd into it with like a leg drop. You can tell the crowd's been like waiting for Mabel to take over, and then he like gets on the second rope and hits this big ass cross body block. And I was watching it and it made me sit up. I'm like, holy shit! I thought he was about to win with that. The way he hit it, I'm like, how big he is. Like you just have to see. Like it was crazy. They're doing. It wasn't like a total lazy match for these two big guys. So I'll give them credit for that. Then to add on to that, Mabel tries to go up to the top for God knows what he was going to do. And Yoko tosses him off the top. So yeah, Yoko's going to toss Mabel off the top rope. Like that's a real thing that happened. Then Yoko hits like his backsplash in the corner, followed by the bonsai for the win. So I thought, what could have been a very lazy, just nerve hold, which there was a little bit of that, but it could have just been like, your test of strength, pushing on each other kind of match.
It could have been terrible.
Yeah, it was actually pretty solid. It was a pretty fun match. Like I had a decent time watching it, so I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Weird that there's no Mo still. He's just like, where's Mo?
Yeah.
I know this in a year is a future inner house match, which is dreadful match. And I thought when they took him outside after their big, the big rolling spots, that it was going to be a double count out, because I'm pretty sure that one ends in a double count out the same way of just like they're both fat and fall in the ring, and that's the end of the match.
Right.
But then, like you said, it picked up. Like you get the Haas match, you get the kind of stare down, you get the big guys kind of running into each other with their bellies, and then that second rope crossbody. I don't think I've ever seen him do that. And then when he went up to the top rope, the whole crowd like gasped. Yeah. I was like, what was he gonna do?
I know.
I was really wondering, like, what is he possibly gonna do?
What was his plans?
Yeah, what was his plans? But Yoko did a good job of slamming off the top rope. Like that's gotta be a date. Like that guy's big. Like that could easily fall on his shoulder or something. But he did a good job of flipping him over the top. And then we get the rare clean heel win. Like how often do you see that? And weird that this is a guy that's going to leave, right? Fat Farm after Survivor Series, and then he gets a win over a guy that we kind of liked a little bit in Mabel, and the teams are pushing. So kind of weird. I get why they did this match, kind of like a rare attraction and something different, but kind of weird that you had to get the clean heel win, which you just at this time rarely see. Well, unless they're pushing a guy to like the title, right?
Right. Well, they're probably not bought into Mabel all the way, especially without Mo yet. Like you said, who knows where Mo's at? Maybe he's opening the Mexican restaurant that we all know and love today, Mo's. So
yes, it's very true. Very true. It's just interesting. They kind of like let it. Again, it's just rare that a guy loses clean as a face. And then we also get the match. We get a lot of George Foreman talk. So throughout this action zone, they must have done live commentary by of the morning, because you get constant Todd and Vince, announcing which football game's happening, announcing what time the kickoffs are. So like obviously they really did something to do that. So they mentioned George Foreman, and I did like that because they talked about how George Foreman won the heavyweight title the night before. He's 45, Backland's 45. It's just crazy because I put in my notes like AJ's like 60 right now, and like how much better he looks than Backland at this time. But good use of current events to kind of like play their story up that they're gonna have, especially at that time where you think like 45 is like done. And then we get 1, 2, 3 Kid, a guy we haven't seen as much as maybe we would want to see. Here and there. Like I'd really love to see 1, 2, 3 Kid a little bit more. But a standard squash for him.
Yep.
Nothing there. He's got nothing going on. One of those guys too.
Yeah, he's kind of lost a little bit.
He's kind of lost, but he's been a guy every time we see him. Like, man, we really like him.
Right.
So I would like to see a little more out of him. We get a Bret Hart interview then in ring where he keeps saying the Survivor Series. I don't know if you noticed that.
I love it. I love it.
Like the SummerSlam. I don't think I've ever heard anyone really make fun of the Survivor Series, but he constantly articulates the. So pretty good there. And then we get Double J. Out for Bret Hart in an interview, kind of standard interview. There, just talking again. The funniest part was the Survivor Series, but just talking about how he's not going to give up to Backland. The chicken wing's dangerous, but he thinks the sharpshooter is dangerous too. And then we get Double J out there, and they spend a lot of time with the Double J match, really talking about when the games are going to happen. Like, Bears are at noon, don't switch over yet. Like, you still got time. So really interesting. They tried to make this live, and I'm pretty sure as a kid I thought this was live. But,
100%.
So they did a good job. The full, a 10-year-old than me, but. I don't know if you have anything to add on those kind of matches there.
No, I think you're good on that. We also get so it's back to being the new head shrinkers. So I guess the taping's caught up. We get squash from them, which was very interesting towards the end about taking the boots off of, was it Fatu?
Fatu's boots, yeah.
Yeah, so he had boots on, and I don't know what the problem was where they had to take them off in order him to his finish. Very weird, very gross too. Like just seeing him by the top rope and then having what's his name? Was it Sika or Alpha, whatever one?
Alpha, yes.
Has to come undo his boot and just Quentin Tarantino must have had a field day with this foot fetish thing going on here. It was weird. But so yeah, we got a squash with that with some weird shit involved, and then a Tatanka squash to finish it. So. Nothing crazy. Seems to kind of be the pattern of Action Zone right now, where we get some, like you said, added sports. That seems to be the thing too, is to talk about sports and action, to show how hip and new they are, kind of sports oriented. That show, I guess. So they've mentioned different games and things like that before. So it seems to be they're gonna show a highlight match. And then kind of build some squash matches around it. I think WCW main event is kind of the same thing. They show what they call a main event match, and then everything else is just squashes or interviews built around it. So as long as the matches stay good, it's a good concept. But once it becomes stale, it'll just be like any superstars or anything like that.
Well, and this, they got Bret Hart out there, so even if you think the main event match was, you got Bret Hart out there. It's just some of these squashes are it's showing up no difference than superstars, and now they're already in one cycle and they're not even taping their own section. It's let's just throw this on Wrestling Challenges, section.
Think about Shotgun, right? Shotgun started awesome. I was like, holy shit, I love this. And then what did it last, 10 shows in the bars?
Yeah,
if that. Yeah. And then it just went to being what Superstars was, but they called it Shotgun Saturday Night.
Yeah, so. taped before Raw, Right. And back on the old network of North South Connection, I don't know if you listened to Ryan and JT did the first episode over, and they did the Shotgun. They're like, this is such a different concept. And then it's 4 weeks later, it's back to your standard thing. It's just
exactly.
Vince must get these ideas and then either doesn't have the money for it, or just no one's willing to kind of take it and run with it, right?
Right.
It kind of seems like.
Well, maybe he thinks when it's new, it's going to spike a higher rating than it does, and then he sees that it doesn't, and he's like, okay, let's just keep it the same as everything else then.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
It just gets bland for a while. We know this is going to last. So this is the life we chose, choosing the new gen. So so we'll move on to Raw. We get live Raw, so at least we get something live cooking there from November 7th. So the next everything before Survivor Series and Raw will be from the same taping. So they get a lot done in here for this, and we start. Let me. Sorry, I just want one thing. So we get the tag team. The tag team match we talked about before. I'll let you do this one. Bret Hart and Davey Boy Smith versus Owen and Jim Neidhart. The only thing I want to put is that when I looked at the sheets for this arena, the match before this match happened was Bret Hart versus Jim Neidhart. So they must be punishing Jim Neidhart for making him wrestle twice in a row. So I don't know why they made him do it, but that's the order it shows up on the stat sheet is Bret Hart. Bret Hart, Neidhart, and then the tag match. So I don't know if they taped it for Raw, so they wanted the live feel, but it feels like punishment to Neidhart. So
right. So when I first saw this match, I was like, yes, this is awesome, right? I feel like this should have been a pay-per-view match, especially built off of SummerSlam, or at least it should have been done sooner. This started at SummerSlam, right? With Bulldog sitting in the crowd, Anvil interfering and trying to interfere. This should have happened a lot sooner. But I guess the Backland stuff derailed it. Then Owen became Anvil's second pretty much, and things just got off track. So
well, I know too, and we'll see how Anvil. I know the house show feud with Anvil and Bret did not go very well.
Right.
It was not high drawing. So I get why they wanted the title match at Survivor Series, like even though Backland's kind of random to ramp up, versus this would have been perfect for an inner house, right? If we had the inner house fall,
oh yeah, definitely.
This would have been it, but they don't have that yet, so it kind of gets lost on these Raws, which gives us a better match, but it definitely should have been elevated. I totally agree. It's hot enough, so.
Yeah, so like just looking at the optics of it, this is the Bulldog look I love too, with the shorts with the red on one side, blue on the other.
Yep.
Long hair. This is just prime Bulldog for me. So early on, like Owen and Neidhart do a good job, like healing up on Bulldog. Like obviously they have chemistry. They were the new foundation for a while. They've been working together recently, so good double team stuff. Great chemistry with all four guys as expected. They're all family. They've all grown up in Stampede and working together. So it's just very smooth, fluid stuff. There's not a lot of drama, I guess you could say, in the match because to me, this specific feud has cooled down a little bit because of Backland. Like that's in the backdrop. Yeah. So it's not like the biggest stakes or anything like that. And I guess Bret just hasn't been on TV as much either. So it doesn't I don't know, the build to what this could have been isn't there, I guess.
Well, it's weird also, just in my opinion, they just did the last match between Owen and Bret. So it's weird, like Bret at Action Zone 2 weeks ago, they said that's it. And now 2 weeks later, they're doing this again.
Tag. Exactly.
Yeah,
so they're still against each other.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird, right, that they do
right. That. It just feels like I was excited going in to see the tag match, watching it, and okay, this is kind of, I think it's because Neidhart is such like a cog in it.
Yes.
Backland replaces him on Action Zone in a couple months, spoiler, in February, and the match is 1,000 times better. And I wish Backland was in this match right now because it would make more sense. Owen's going to back him at Survivor Series anyways, so Backland should be in this. And Anvil just kind of brings it down. He's not really, there's nothing going for him. There's no stakes. He actually gets, Bret gets a clean win, sharpshooter over him, so he just kind of jobs him out. But I mean, still a solid match, just not as good as I thought it could be. And just a little bit disappointing as the guys involved, I guess.
Yeah, and also weird that Owen, I don't know who he would have won there, but he loses again. It just feels like Owen never wins in this feud.
Well, Owen's just shit on. He's just down the card terribly.
Yeah.
He's nothing now.
After WrestleMania, he's that almost makes it seem like a fluke. I thought he would have had a little bit more aggression here. Yep. And obviously he plays it up at Survivor Series. We'll see a little bit, but it's weird he doesn't get a win here. I guess you want to keep the champion strong and you want to keep Bulldog strong, but just let Neidhart loose.
Right.
Or somehow Owen get a win, right? Even a DQ or something, just to give him something. It just feels like this feud, they can't get past it, and Owen can never win. It was a fine enough match. It was cool. There was definitely a lot of drama into it, so the crowd was into it, right? So they had built this up a little bit, but it's not as good as the match last week of the click tag. So tough comparison there. We get a Survivor Series rundown. We get the same Chuck Norris video, kind of the rundown of each match. They're really taking a lot of time building up these matches this time, really announcing who's on the team. They have interviews with each of the team members. And Todd's got an awesome Survivor Series shirt that he's wearing. And they're also talking a lot about the program available. And then again, this is where they kind of bring up again the towels. They do the Owen and Bulldog interviews again. Then I don't know if you caught this before the Bam Bam match. They talked about 2 guys were injured setting up Raw that night and had to be taken away to the hospital. So obviously something happened because Vince was very somber saying that, hey, this Raw is dedicated to those 2 guys. So obviously something went wrong in the setup. But we get a quick Bam Bam squash. Nothing there. Kind of really just talk about him. We get talk about him doing that he's in the tag match. So kind of random nothing, but just a standard squash. Then we get the King's Court, and right before that we get the classic moment of Vince saying goodbye to Macho Man. Announces that Vince says he's his number 1 fan. He wishes him nothing but the best, and it's really crazy that he'll never come back. to WWE. It's just like the way Vince says it, like it makes it seem like he's coming back. He's in WCW in like a couple weeks, and then he's just never back in WWF. It's just crazy.
Well, so like this segment hit pretty hard actually. Like this was probably the most vulnerable you're gonna see Vince. Like like the wrestling with shadow stuff. I mean that era is a little bit different. So like things are more let's shoot on you, brother, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right here, he gets on there. Like this is what kills any of the Stephanie speculation in me, because if that was true, he's not going to go on. You know, he's not going to go on here and give
Thanks for banging my daughter.
Right, exactly. Like he goes on there and he is legitimately like heartbroken that Savage is gone. Like he just says like they couldn't come to agreement on a contract. And what's crazy is like Savage kept saying, you know, I got more left in the tank. I wanted to wrestle still, and Vince didn't want him to wrestle. So I wonder if it wasn't like a money thing; it was more of a wrestling thing, you know? Like, and what you also see is Vince didn't do this for Hogan when Hogan left.
Nope.
But he does it for Savage. So it just shows you kind of, you know, where he saw Savage as the face of the WWF, like the ambassador kind of thing, and Savage saw himself as a performer, which to his own right he was, because he does have a good 2 or 3 year run in WCW at least. So
yeah, I mean, I think in Pritchard's podcast kind of mentioned it was kind of a last minute thing that he called Vince and said, "Hey, I'm going to WCW." So Pritchard thought he was going to WCW. That's which Savage has told him. So it's even weirder if that's true.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to take Pritchard at like 30% of what he says, but that's even crazier if he's like, "Hey, I'm leaving to go to the competition," and Vince does this for him. But it shows the affection they had for each other. And again, doesn't seem like someone that had his daughter banged by him. So
no, that's why I think like this, you know, I think it was just more of a serious like heartbreak kind of thing. Like, you know, it's you're supposed to be my Jesse Ventura. You're supposed to be my, you know, whatever. And I wonder if it was just like very, like you said, last minute, and it just took, like he just assumed he was going to resign him, and Savage told him, and he's just like, holy shit. Like,
and Pritchard said that he was pretty Vince was like caught off guard and pissed about it. So it's just again weird that Vince then, like you said, vulnerable. Like it's like he just had a breakup and he's like saying, you know, I loved you, right? Like one last I love you.
Remember, they were supposed to have him. Wasn't he supposed to wrestle Shawn at like a WrestleMania too? Like they pushed it off one more year because they're like, oh, they can wrestle next year. And then next year never came because he left, and all these other things happened. So yeah, it's definitely something that hit him pretty hard.
Yeah. So as we do that, we get the 1, 2, 3 Kid King's Court. I don't know if you had anything really to add there. It was kind of a weaker King's Court.
Well, Kid just not
shouldn't talk. Yeah.
like Lawler just shits on him, saying like there's an arm hanging from your shirt, or there's a hair hanging from your shirt. Oh wait, no, that's your arm. And then Backland comes out to try, and the only good part was they cut Kid talking off early. Like he didn't. Let him talk too long.
Short. It was a short King's. It might be the shortest King's Court we've ever seen.
And Backland goes to like sneak attack Kid, but Kid's ready, catches him with some kicks, and then Bret comes out to like support him. So it was smart on their part to not let him talk too much, but also give him a little bit of a platform. So that was pretty decent.
I think they're saying he fights them next week, right? So they kind of build that as kind of the big storyline of this interview.
Kind of a waste of King's Court though, because
probably
usually
the
Lawler
worst one we
plays
watched.
into it. Yeah,
probably the worst one we watched.
Yeah,
you know, he's usually pretty good.
And then we finished.
I'll let you. Yeah, you gotta get the last match. Match.
So we finished this with Doink versus Pat Tanaka, and my first note was they're wasting a Pat Tanaka appearance for Doink. Pat Tanaka is awesome in the ring. Like he's someone that should be in there that can go a little bit, and he's a backdrop for this.
I didn't even notice that was
silliness.
I honestly didn't know that was him.
Yeah.
I think I was not paying attention to the Doink.
Well, yeah, you were hypnotized. You were hypnotized by the little people. So the match really is just a backdrop as it is. It's a nothing match. Basically a squash, but the Doink's little people come out, Lawler's little people come out, and they have like a little standoff, sit off, whatever you want to call it. It's just like weird. This whole feud sucks. Like Lawler's trying to make something out of it, and Doink's not actually that bad either. Like the two main focal points are playing off each other pretty well. It's just that there's so many moving parts that are just not equipped to carry something like this as a feud. Like if it was
they're
just
spending so much time on it. It's constantly on TV.
well, it would be better if it was just Doink and Dink versus Lawler and a little person, like a tag match, like to where it was more concentrated. But you have all these guys. It's like I don't know which one's Queasy, which one's Sleazy. I don't know which one's which. I don't know which one's Pink or Wink or whatever. Like there's just too much going on. It just gets all jumbled up. So.
Yeah, and you get this at the end. You start seeing King's really yelling at Queasy for not coming to help him out. You can see his face, like they're starting to get pissed at him because he's just berating him, which is kind of funny. But it's just like you see where this is going. So,
right.
And then I put in my notes too is like, okay, we're giving all this time for Doink, right? Like we've really spent a lot. Like he was in every episode, Backland as well, and then by WrestleMania, both guys are kind of out of the Fed. So it's crazy at this fall time. Like I don't know the whole story of the booking at the time, but it's crazy. Like this is if you said who's on TV the most right now, it would be Doink and Backland, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And by WrestleMania, they're both kind of gone. So I don't know if it falls flat or what happens between both of them, but it's just interesting that like what they're building up here doesn't really have lasting stay power.
Neidhart's another one too.
Neidhart's you're right. Yeah, he's gone too. I mean, that's probably his own crack cocaine.
Yeah,
sorry to get. I'm gonna ask the guess. Don't be accusations, but it's probably a very wise guess. But apologize, Mr. Neidhart's, for if I'm incorrect on your why you get released in '95. But
well, he's dead, so
I know. It was probably true. Just good guess.
Right.
And it's happened before to him, so it wouldn't be the first time. So
exactly.
But yeah, just interesting that they kind of talk about that. And then we get a quick Bret Hart's interview backstage where he talks about how 1, 2, 3 Kid's part of the new generation and Backland's the old generation, and next week's going to be the new versus old generation.
Yep.
Anything more to add before we go on to awards?
No, I think we're good there.
I think we're good. All right, give me 1 second. We'll get to awards. What's the most new gen outfits? We'll start there.
So I was gonna go Bulldog, but you mentioned that Todd Survivor Series shirt, and I did love that. So when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this is so '90s." I always loved like the pay-per-view shirts, like as corny and cheesy as they looked. It just puts me in that era. So that was a feel-good moment seeing that. I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, I'll go with the same. Well, I'm actually going to go with Savage at the parade dressed in his full Macho Man multicolored dress. Yeah, so that's his past appearance. It's so funny. It's funny because they do an interview with him there too, and he's talking up the wrestling, how great it is. So just weird timing of when it got done. We got most new gen performer.
Performer-wise, I mean, there's not really too much. I guess... because he was good in little spurts, which is crazy. He got called old gen. I guess I'm gonna go with Backland because his quick cameos all were pretty effective.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely new gen time frame. Like Backland, this is definitely you associate one of the new gen things with the Backland craze.
Yep,
out of nowhere. If he'll turn, I'll go. I'm just looking. There's like nothing. I'll go Duke Drosy for his match because I thought it was pretty out of randomly just to set up.
Right.
Worst match or segment?
Probably that Billy Gunn versus Tatanka. It was cold, random match. Just didn't really do anything for me.
I'm gonna go against Diesel. Like it was a throwaway match, and this is the guy in like 6 days or whatever. 16 days is gonna be champion. Like just kind of. It was a nothingness squash match. I thought, if this is your guy, they could have done something to make him face or more dominant. It was just like, yep, he just won in a minute. So
that's fair.
Best match or segments.
Can't believe I'm actually going to say this, but I'm going to go Mabel versus Yoko, even over a Bret Hart match.
I'll go the tag match instead. That was, I would agree, the Mabel versus Yoko was a lot of fun, and I just remembered the inter-house match being dreadful, but this was actually a ton of fun.
Yeah, it takes you off guard a little bit.
Yeah. Stock up.
Man, that's a little hard. I would say Pat Tanaka to be funny, but I'm not gonna go with that. Man. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go IRS. He's kind of bouncing back a little bit.
Yep.
Like he was stale there for a little while, stuck in the tag team, and now he's doing these little vignettes at the gravesite and stuff like that. So he's been entertaining to me.
I'm gonna go. Todd Pettingill. I thought he did a pretty good job with the action zone of one bringing up the George Foreman thing, and just I thought his like excitement in those matches, even the Mabel Oscar, like he was so much better than, or sorry, Mabel and Yoko. He was so much better than Vince's just what's a maneuver. Like I thought he brought different excitements, even though Todd's not the best at calling things. So
Right.
Tim. I thought he was good. Yeah, one of the weaker. No one really stood out this time, so it's kind of tough to pick someone. I don't want to give it to Doink for sure.
Right.
Anyone stock down?
There's not really too much I could put down. I guess I will go with the Raw announce booth without Savage.
Okay, and I already keyed in mine, but I'm gonna do. It's stock down, but more as goodbye as Macho Man.
Yeah.
Really wish he could have stayed. Really wish he was used better in '94.
He was
Like
so
man,
good still.
just wasted. I mean, he had a good WrestleMania match. I really like it. I think it's underrated. I think yes, it's not the crazy pinfall anywhere brawls now.
Right.
But it was different type of match, and it's fun for what it is, an 8-minute match. And then he's just not used again, and it's really disappointing. I thought he had a lot of energy, and we know in WCW has some good runs. He definitely gets his ass beat a lot, but he's got some good matches. So
Exactly.
I'm gonna go stock down just in Macho Man's kind of lack of use in '93 and '94.
That's a good call.
All right. Well, that was a couple more superstars and Raws and action zones before we get to Survivor Series in a couple weeks. We got the card all set, so we'll see if there's anything else that kind of pops out. I know we got a couple more Backland craze runs, so I think we'll have a couple more good matches here to come before we get into a crazy Survivor Series and the fallout from it as well.
Well, and I mean that's going to be 2 calendar years of our show too, which is pretty crazy. Like that's,
yes.
That's wild.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, oh, we're 1 year down. I'm like, nope, we're 2 years.
Right.
2 years, 2 Survivor Series in. So, or this will be our 3rd Survivor Series. Actually.
Exactly.
Yeah. So good. Well, maybe we'll do a little retrospective too when we get to that about what we thought so far. Where do we think it's going? Maybe as we get into, maybe as people say, the worst year of wrestling in '95. So
hell no.
And we'll bring it to life. Yeah, and I did see coming soon is Hakushi, so we know we got the goods coming. So
there's plenty more. Yep.
There's plenty more. Yep. So thanks for everyone for welcoming us on the Backbone, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Everybody's got a price. Everybody's gonna pay. 'Cause the $1 Million Man always gets his way. Money, 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 money. Some might cost a little. Some might cost a lot. But I'm the $1 Million Man. And you will be bought.